Hey there, it's Brittany Chavers, and I'm back today with an earring blitz tutorial using the April 2022 Magical Mystery Bead Box by Jessie James Beads, and it was called Yellowstone. So I have an unboxing on my channel if you're interested, but we're going to use components from the bead box to make 5 pairs of earrings today. Yes, I said 5, and they're all going to be dangles, and they're great for gifts or for yourself if you're like me and you can't give away your jewelry. So we're going to be using the Yellowstone box today. I'm going to start simple. Most of these are pretty simple. There will be some wire wrapping involved in some of them, but first pair we're going to make is this dangle pair. For this I used some head pins and eye pins and an ear wire from my stash. And then the first mix I used was the Yellowstone mix, the Yellowstone bead mix, using all these beautiful check beads. So what I did, and this is by far the simplest pair of earrings in today's video, I chose this really nice, I think it looks like a turtle shell, check glass bead and threaded it onto my anti-copper head pin. I also grabbed a metallic bicone from the mix, and I just did a simple loop at the top. So I bent that at 90 degrees, and I'm cutting about a ½ inch. I'm going to take my round nose pliers and do a simple loop by bending this back towards the beads. I'm going to set that right there. Next, I took this beautiful turquoise glass bead, threaded it on an eye pin, and did the same thing. I'm just going to bend that at a 90-degree angle and snip and roll it back. And last but not least, I am going to take 3 of these green glass beads. So a cube, cute little saucer, and a fire polish bead. Stack those together and create a simple loop. And then we will just assemble these by swinging open. We're not going to pull open, we're going to swing open those simple loops. And then stack them. I'm just going to close that one, open the next, and then last but not least, we are going to put on our ear wire. And in just a couple minutes, we have a wonderful dangly pair of earrings that are pretty eye-catching, perfect for summer. These are just beautiful summer colors. Okay, so 1 pair down. Next, we're going to take the Love Fiercely metal strand, and we're going to use this bead right here. So I'm going to take that off. And then I also grabbed a bead out of the Montana Sky Mix, and it's going to be this really gorgeous glass bead. So it's half aqua, half gold, and I just love it, like aqua into gold. And we're going to use this. This is going to be just a stacked earring, but I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting by doing some wire wrapping. I'm going to use some Beadalon 20 gauge German style wire in antique brass, and I'm just going to cut a piece. I don't really measure, but it's probably about 7 inches or so. I am going to put on my glass bead, and then I need about 2 inches, maybe a little bit less, to be coming out of the bottom of the bead. Now we're going to make our own head pin, and I'm going to do that by bringing up the bottom smaller tail and holding it against my bead, and I'm going to lock it around the longer piece of wire by wrapping it just really quickly twice. Now I'm going to trim this. So this is a really great way to make your own pendants. or your own head pins. So now that just looks like an artisan head pin to me. I do like the swirl, like how this just goes straight down the bead, but I want it to be a little bit tighter and it's moving around a little bit. So I'm going to take my flat nose pliers. I am going to grab my wire and I'm just going to twist it a little bit so it's tighter, and now we have an interesting focal. So we have like a little desert thing going down there. That's what I think it looks like. Anyway, so then I'm going to have my bead and my wire, and I'm going to thread on this metal bead from our metal strand. And then I have one more bead from that Yellowstone mix. It's another one of those green saucers. I just think it looks really cute and breaks up the metal a little bit. We're going to slide that right on top of our antique brass bead. So then I'm going to create a wire wrapped loop, and I want my loop to go sideways. So once it's, finished, so I'm going to hold the bead like this with my wire facing the front. And if you don't like how the wire looks, you can just have it face the back, and then this will be your earring. But I like how the wire looks on this, and I'm going to bend this to the side, bend back over. So it looks like that. We're making a wire wrapped loop. Reposition my pliers, pull this to the back, and then I'm going to start wire wrapping. So I'm going to do a couple wet wraps right up against that loop. Then I'm going to wire wrap between, and I'm not going to really separate them. It's just laying in the groove between these two beads. I'm not going to push the green bead up to separate those two. I'm just going to wrap that around once, and then I'm going to bring my wire down my bead. Now we have a little kink here. That's okay. Once you tighten it, that's not really going to show. If you're super concerned about it, you can grab your nylon jaw pliers and try and straighten it out a little bit. There we go, straighten out a little bit. And then I am going to bring that down my bead. And since it's 20 gauge, it's a little tough, but you can use pliers if you need to at this point. And then I am going to hold on to the top of my bead and wrap the middle of those two beads. So now we have a little messy wrap, and I'm just in love with this pair of earrings, and I am going to snip that off in the back. Okay, and it's a little sideways, so I'm just going to take my pliers, straighten it up, and it's perfect. I have an ear wire, and then if you don't have let's say an antique brass ear wire, but you do have the antique brass wire, you can make your own ear wire. And I have that tutorial through Jessie James Beads on my channel. So I want to make sure that my wire is showing to the front. So I'm just going to hook that on, close it up. And we have a really fun, artistic, or artisan looking pair of earrings. I feel like I could go to a handmade market in the Southwest and find these, and they're just gorgeous. I love them so much. They look like a piece of art to me. Next, I am going to grab several beads, or well, two. I'm going to grab two beads from the Montana Sky mix. That was the one with the magnesite beads in it. I grabbed a Briolette and a faceted round. I'm going to move these off to the side. I have two sizes of wire for this earring. You can totally use one size, whichever one floats your boat. I have some 24 gauge German style wire from Beadalon and some 22 gauge German style wire from Beadalon. I'm also going to use two thicker head pins, and I'll show you the reason for that in just a moment. So I have my 24 gauge wire right here. I'm going to slide that wire through my Briolette, and I'm going to bring both wires up. The shorter one, I'm going to go ahead See, I just did one a little bit shorter than the other, and I'm going to wrap it around my longer one. Now there are so many different ways that you could create a loop here. I'm just going to wrap this around my longer one. And 24 gauge is so malleable. You should be able to do this with your fingers. If you'd like, you can use your pliers. Okay, and it doesn't have to be super perfect because that's going to get covered up. And I'm going to twist that to the back, trim off the shorter wire. So now, again, we have another head pin or just a charm, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to create a charm here, or beaded dangle, whatever you want to call it, by doing another wire wrapped loop. Like that. Bring it around to the back. And you can definitely come down your stem here and then even start wrapping. If you have a ton of wire, just wrap around the whole top of the bead. I am not going to wrap onto the bead today. I am just going to wrap my my wire. I'm gonna get it a little bit more than that though. Okay, loving how that looks. I'm going to snip that in the back. Next, I am going to take this lotus bead that was in the charm kit in the box. Isn't that so gorgeous? And then I have two thicker gauge head pins. And the only reason I wanted these head pins is because the head on the head pins is very large. If you have smaller head pins, the holes in the frame bead, the lotus frame, aren't going to be able to hold your head pins. So if you just need to find something that will stay inside of your lotus. So I'm going to take one head pin, stick it through. And I'm just going to do a wire wrap loop here. And because we're keeping the frame open on this bead. Now, if you put something in the frame, you probably would only need one of these, and it might not matter how large the bottom is, depending if you have another bead on there. So I'm just going to wire wrap this. And again, it's a little tough because it's such a big gauge. If you need help, absolutely use your pliers in your other hand. All right, I'm going to trim this in the back. Or you can just do a simple loop too. Simple loop, it can be your friend when you have these thick gauge wires. And then I am going to come down the bottom and do the exact same thing, but I'm going to stop halfway through my first step. So I'm going to go through and make that loop, but I'm not going to wire wrap it yet. So I have my loop begun, and then I am going to swing it to the back like we've been doing. But before I start wrapping, I'm going to slide on my little briolette, and it's going to hang below my lotus. So I'm going to hold my wire here, and again I'm going to use my brute strength, and I am going to wire wrap that. And I love when we do messy wires because it kind of gives us a little bit of forgiveness in the style, because the style is messy wrapped. This doesn't have to be perfect. Now, if you are a perfectionist, sure, take your time, but this is a great way to learn how to wire wrap is messy wrapped wires, because it doesn't have to be perfect and it still looks great. All right, so I have that. I have my little bead dangling like that. I'm going to wrap it around once more because I want the trimmed piece to be in the back. So I'm going to hold on here, go back around. I'm going to try and get that in there. There we go. That looks so much better. And then push. Okay, so I'm going to just snip. There we go. All right, so we have our half of our earring finished, and then I'm just going to take, you could take that 24 gauge wire again. I actually ended up using 22 gauge on my faceted round. So what I'm going to do here is start a wire wrapped loop, just like we did on that lotus. I'm going to slip the lotus on here. Click that in place and then wrap just a couple times. I want to make sure that I pull this tail to the back and then snip. So all of our wires are snipped in the same place. Let's see. Here we go. So snip that here. Slide on our faceted round. It's a little bent, but this wire is very forgiving, like I said before, so we can just move it into the place we need it. And I'm actually going to squeeze that little wire in a little bit. There we go. And now I am going to do that to the side. Bring it back around. Do a little bit of wire wrapping. Snip the wire, open up my ear wire, and I'm just looking to see where the back of the earring is. So this is the front. So there we go. Now we have a wonderful turquoise and lotus pair of earrings. Aren't those gorgeous? So pretty. So that was pair 3. We have 2 more left. The next one we're going to be using this cute little mountain charm. Again, we're just going to be wire wrapping on this one, but I like to show you different designs that you can use with all of these fantastic beads. And then after this, after making 5 pairs of earrings, we're gonna have still so many beads left from this kit. Okay, so these are the 4 check glass beads I used from the Yellowstone mix. So I'm gonna take that 22 gauge wire again, and I'm gonna cut up a couple pieces. Not very long at all. So we're just gonna wire wrap like we did with the last one. This one will be a little bit less complicated than our lotus pair of earrings. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that loop open. Snug on my charm, and then just do a couple little wraps here. Okay, so now we have our cute little charm dangling. I am going to snip this. Now we see that this is the front of the charm, so I want to make sure that I snip the wire in the back. In the long run, you probably won't be able to see it from far away, but if you want to make more professional looking earrings, we want that to be in the back. And then next I'm going to put on this little saucer that's half blue, half AB, and this little pebble blue bead, and create another wire wrapped loop. And if you'd like, you can come down like we did on the blue pair of earrings, the turquoise pair of earrings before, but I'm just going to wire wrap right there. Making sure, again, to cut in the back. Although this charm is so cool, it could almost be two-sided. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with my brown and green bead. So I'm going to make a loop. Slide it on here. Close that up. Earrings like this are a great way, if you have wire scrap, to use up some of that wire scrap. Because if you're just wire wrapping 1 or 2 beads, you don't need a heck of a lot of wire. Then I'm going to slide on this brown table cut glass bead and my green fire polish bead. Just like that, and we'll be able to straighten that out in a moment. We have a really cute summery mountain themed pair of earrings. This makes me want to go to Yellowstone for sure. Okay. So this is actually the front of this earring. I'm going to wrap around to the back one more time. Snip. Open up my ear wire. And another 5-minute pair of earrings that are kind of like shoulder dusters. These are so much fun. Don't they look? It almost looks like, you know, like we have a nice river and some trees hanging out with our cute little mountains. Or it could be the sky and then, I don't know, trees or something. But I think those are super cute. My mom's going to love those. And then last, but certainly not least, we're going to use this wonderful laser cut feather from the Charms kit. And then we're going to use this awesome wood bead from the Ranch House mix. I just loved this bead so much. I also grabbed a ceramic bead from the Montana mix, the Montana Sky mix. Another one of the bicones from the Check mix, and another one of those green little saucers. I just loved those beads so much that I kept using them throughout these earrings. So for this, I am going to need, again, some of that 22 gauge wire. I'm going to cut a piece. I'm going to do some more wire wrapping. And I am going to make a loop here. Now that's probably the smallest you would want to make that loop. You can make it bigger, but that's the smallest I would because the hole in these are a little bit larger than you typically see on a bead. So I'm going to slide my little feather onto my wire and close that up. And these feathers are double-sided, so it doesn't really matter which side's the front or the back. I'm going to slide on my half circle wood bead that is just so cool. And I am going to then put on my ceramic bead, my saucer, and my bicone. And we have a really fun stack here. And then I am just going to wire wrap. So this is one of the more easy ones. I showed you the harder ones at the beginning. And it paid off because now you have some easy earrings to make. So I'm just going to make sure that the wire is positioned correctly, and we can always kind of finagle that at the end of the earring too if we see that it's turned the wrong way. And then I am just going to do a wire wrapped loop here. If you want to use a gold here or an antique brass, do some mixed metals, that's totally fine. And there were a couple gold beads in the charm kit as well. Or you can use maybe a large antique brass bead. That would be really pretty with that wood too. Thankfully, there was more than one pair of these, so you can make multiples. All right, and I am just going to do a little bit of wrapping. I'm not going to go around these beads. I'm going to twist this, snip my wire. Now we want to twist this just a little bit. I want this to stay in the orientation it's at, and then turn the bottom one just a little. And there we go. Isn't that super cute? We're going to grab an ear wire. Slip on our earring. And there we go. We have a really fun pair of earrings that nobody else is going to have. Look at how unique those beads are. So we made 5 pairs of earrings today. Please let me know which one was your favorite. I'll run pictures of all 5. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you to Jessie James Beads for having me back. Bye-bye.